Hello and welcome back to your mat, and welcome back to Lake Michigan here in the background. This is Portage Bay. I'm still here and recording in this beautiful location. And we're going to continue on a little bit with the earth element, and today we're going to focus on digestion and emotional balance a bit. So I alluded in the last video, if you happen to catch that one, about worry and rumination is a big worry is the emotion with the earth element. So we're going to work through that while we're working through a little bit of digestion points here. So we're going to focus more on some of the points in the body, but we're also going to be moving. So this is not necessarily going to fix all of your problems you've ever had, but these are just great ones to start with. So we will get started. You will need a block and a towel, a blanket, something you can roll up. So we'll start with a quote by Virginia Woolf. "One cannot think well, love well, sleep well, if one has not dined well." So that was a really appropriate one for working through digestion. So we're going to start with broken toe pose. And that's not everyone's favorite pose, but it's a good one because of a lot of meridians run through the feet. And again, you don't need to have any knowledge of traditional Chinese medicine. You don't need to know anything about the different meridians. I'm not going to go into all those details, but just know that when you're doing this, it can be intense. So I've got my toes tucked and I'm sitting back on my heels. You can always sit up, you can always come off of them any amount you need to, or come back. But it is intense, but you're opening up a lot of this meridians through the feet, because a lot of them run through here, and especially associated with the earth element. So we're going to stay here for just a moment. And while we're here, I want you to think about, do you find that your thoughts are going all the time? Do you find yourself worrying excessively sometimes? And when you do you notice that maybe it has an effect on your digestive system? So they obviously can go hand in hand. You know, we can worry ourselves into a frenzy, and then we can have an upset stomach. So when we can kind of calm that down, which is easier said than done, can also help the digestion. All right, from here, go ahead and release those, because I know that is intense. I can't stay in that pose very long. I know some people can, but I am not one of those people. And then next we're going to do the belly roll here. So I will go ahead and premise this class. If you are pregnant, this is not a class for you to take, especially with the belly roll. So I'd go ahead and, sorry to waste your time already, but you're not going to want to do this class. If you are pregnant in any regards, you should always consult your doctor first, or a prenatal yoga teacher would be a lot more beneficial for you to know what poses you can and cannot do. So I just want to premise it with that, because we're going to be using this. We're going to take a blanket, and we're going to make a little roll out of it. So go ahead and take your blanket or your towel and roll that up. You can also make it less of a roll if you find this to be too intense. And for some people, initially this is intense. So back off if you need to. And we're going to lay our lower portion, the lower part of our digestive system. So that will be below the belly button and right above the pelvis. So that roll is going to go right there. Do your best to find that point. And if you've never done this before, this might feel really intense. So just back off if you need to, make the roll less, or if the roll is just bothering you too much, then just go ahead and skip the roll altogether. So from here, we're going to come into Sphinx pose with that roll underneath of our belly. And like I said, this can feel intense. So again, if you have pain, just let go of the belly roll and come into your Sphinx and open yourselves up here, because you can still get the benefits without using the roll. And I want you just to breathe here. And I want you to imagine that you have several balloons. And as you're breathing, you're filling up all these balloons with air. But somehow you're filling them up with helium so they can float. So you can either imagine you're breathing air into them and it turns into helium, whatever. It's a visualization, so it can be whatever it needs to be. So when you inhale, and then you're going to exhale, and imagine all these multicolored, brilliantly vibrant colored balloons filling with air. Take another inhale and exhale there. And as you notice, when you inhale, your belly will drop into the roll, and when you exhale, it'll release. So you're getting a little bit of pressure into your lower abdomen. So the balloons are just there for a moment. They're not floating away just yet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move the belly roll up. So now we're going to have it place it right above the belly button. So it'll be right above the belly button, below the chest. So you're just going to move that up. And this may feel more intense than it did before, or it may not. And then here we're going to kind of come into, I'm going to bring my hands out in what is called seal pose. So we're going to still have that belly roll above our belly button, and we're just going to open ourselves up here again. And you can always stay in Sphinx if that works out better for you on your shoulders, so you decide what's best for you. And now we're going to imagine, I want you to take all of the worries that you have currently in your head, thoughts, ruminations, thoughts about the past, thoughts about the future, whatever it might be. There's no judgment here. Take all of those thoughts as you're breathing and place them individually into each individual balloon. So each thought, rumination, worry, put those in an individual balloon. And allow them to sit there for a moment while we breathe here into the belly roll. And exhale and really let go into that belly roll. Inhale. And then exhale once again. And then from here, I'm going to remove the belly roll. And I do believe we are done with that. Yes, we are. And next we're going to grab the block. So if you have the block nearby, you could also use this, I suppose, if you were to maybe double it up and make it a little thicker, but the block is just going to work a lot better. So this is actually going to work on one of our meridian, an acupressure point. So I will, for those of you who are interested, this is going to be, I want to make sure I give you the right number. This will be spleen 21. So for those of you that have a little bit of knowledge about TCM, we're going to be working through that section, if you that acupressure point. If you don't know anything about TCM, don't worry about it. So we're going to bring the block and we're going to come into, this is going to go right at our armpit. So right below the armpit. So the block is on the medium height for me. And you're going to bring that block, and you're going to be about halfway on the block. So you've got a little bit of room forward and a little bit of room backwards. So it's kind of coming right underneath. It doesn't have to be exact. So acupressure is very similar to acupuncture, but acupuncture is much more precise because there are actual needles involved. Acupressure is we're pressing or we're compressing into points. And this is also, if you are familiar with myofascial release, this is also a tool that we can use to help target some of those spots. So all we're going to do here is you can put your the right side of your head into your hand, and you can rock back and forth just slightly. This is not going to be a big movement, but just a little, and you should feel a little something along there. It might feel a little bit intense. As long as you don't have a lot of pain, you're going to maybe feel some sensation there, though. This is really another nice nourishing point. It's easy to work into using a block. You could use a blanket or even a foam roller if you have something like that. So let's go back to our moment here with the balloons. And so those balloons, let's put a few more in there because I'm sure we have a few more worries or thoughts, ruminations that are popping up. So pardon the pun there. Stick those in, put those away, tuck those, if you have any more, put those in those balloons. And then I want you on the inhale, and then on the exhale, I want you to just release, let go of the balloons as if you were holding on to them. You know, maybe you got, like you would, like if you went to a fair or something and they release into the air. So I just want you to release them and really, truly just let go of them for now. I know this is not going to get rid of all of your worries. It's not, I don't have that kind of power. But visualization is extremely powerful, and it can help you release some of them. So just release them and watch them float up into the sky and away. Far, far away. The vibrant colors are disappearing as we're going through this. And you can always stay in a spot. So if you find a spot that's kind of tender, stay there, because this is going to help balance this element. It's going to help balance your whole body. So if you find a spot that's a little bit tender, stay with it. So I've recently completed a teacher training that was all about traditional Chinese medicine, and it was very fascinating. I'm excited to share some of the information that I found with that. So I'll be sprinkling some of that in as we go in classes coming up. Again, don't feel that you need to have some big knowledge of it at all. I'm not going to go into big detail, or there's no quizzes. It's just helpful information, and these are helpful tools. You try them, you see what works. If something doesn't work for you, then you don't do it again. Or you come back to and try it again later. And then from there, we're going to go to the other side. So I'm just going to flip over, and that way you can see it from a different angle. And then from here, go ahead and do the same thing with your left. So you're now going to put that right there underneath of your armpit. So the very bottom corner of my block is hitting right here at the bottom of my armpit. You don't have to be super precise about this. Again, we're not practicing acupuncture here. We're not trying to precisely hit the spot with a acupuncture needle. This is a combination of hitting a acupressure point here, and it is also a combination of, it also includes, if you're familiar with myofascial release. So it's releasing some of the fascia, the tissues that are in there. And again, I don't want to go into great detail. This is a short class. That's a whole nother discussion. So, and again, I'm rocking back and forth because I find that's really helpful. I can kind of find a spot, maybe stay in it and stay with it. So do what you want to do there. And while you're here, if you have a couple of a few other thoughts that are popping in your head, ruminations, worries, grab a couple of new balloons and put those in there. And just for a moment, even just for a moment, release them into the sky, away from your thoughts, away from your mind, away from your body. Because right now, you're taking valuable time to take care of yourself. So we're going to stay here for another breath. And I know if I worry about something, I have something on my mind that I'm worried about, it can really affect my digestion. It can affect everything about me. And then come on up. And now, if you did see the class before this one, we did yogic squat in that class. And so we're going to revisit that pose again, because I find this one is such a good one, as I alluded to in the first class, the class before this one. It is a great one to help with the downward flow of energy. So we're going to go ahead and use the block. I think that's really helpful because most of us, unless you practice yoga on a very regular basis and you happen to love yogic squat, I am one of those people, you may find it hard to get into this pose without a block. So let's just go ahead and use the block and make it easier for ourselves. And you can also do it on the highest setting if you like. So again, we're going to just sit back onto our block into that yogic squat. It's also called malasana in Sanskrit, for those who might be interested. And really, you could just sit here, do this a couple minutes every day, and over time, you're going to find that you can come lower into this. And again, if it's just too much, you could always just sit in a chair, sit back on maybe a low chair or something that's a little bit higher for you, maybe a footstool. But over time, this is a great one to help. It's great for your hips. It's also great to help with that downward energy. So if you suffer from things like heartburn, indigestion, nausea, all of those things, it's really about helping that energy needs to go down, because that energy is trying to come up, it's going the wrong direction. So we need to help bring that energy down. This doesn't mean energy as in bring your energy down and you are lethargic. It means energetically, the energy in your body. Let's try to bring it down. So that's what we're doing in this pose. And then we have one last pose we're going to do here with another point that I have found to be really helpful. And you can try these, and if they don't do anything for you, it doesn't resonate with you, then you don't have to, you can just let it go. You can just do the poses. So again, this is one I recommend trying to incorporate into a daily routine if you can, and over time, you'll be surprised at how far you can come down. From there, we're going to go ahead and sit down all the way and come into bound angle pose. So that's just the soles of our feet together. And then we're going to, while we're in this pose, we're going to work on a pressure point, acupressure point called spleen 6 for those of you interested. And we're just going to take 4 fingers. So you take your 4 fingers together, find your ankle bone, and you're just going to place them right above your ankle bone, and then right at the top of that, so right where your shin bone is and right at the top of those 4 fingers, that is your spleen 6 point. So kind of feel around, and it doesn't be exactly precise, but it's roughly in that area, and feel around until if you find a tender spot. And then it's going to be the same on the other side. So again, kind of do your measurement there, and you can do one side at a time if you like. That might make things easier. I'm going to do one side at a time, and I have a little tender point spot here. So a lot of times that can mean there's a bit of stagnation going on. So again, if this doesn't work for you, release the point. Or you can just visualize the point too. So we're going to just stay in this pose. You can either fold forward if you like or stay more upright. And I'll let you know when to go to the other side if you're doing the point on the other side as well. And you can use your thumb. You can do a little massage there. Close your eyes and breathe here. And again, imagine your worries. Maybe the balloon analogy isn't working so well. Imagine, I'm looking out at Lake Michigan right now, and just imagine my worries being carried away with the waves and carried off and drifting away. So breathe here. And if you like, you want to go ahead and switch to the other side with your point. Again, measure right above your ankle bone, 4 fingers width, and right where that shin bone is, right underneath that shin bone. That's your point that you're looking for. And you feel around, you might find a tender spot. If you need a little balancing here, you might definitely find that's a tender spot. And if you can find it on both legs at the same time, you can always press both at the same time. You can also just visualize the pressing here, or you can let that go completely. You have options. I'm going to sneak in a little bit of acupressure here while we're doing this class. So breathe in and breathe out. And let whatever might be on your mind, for now, let it go. Easier said than done. But it's a practice. That's why we call it a yoga practice. Let's do another inhale and exhale. And then from there, go ahead and hug your knees into your chest. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and close out the class. But if you like lying back in Shavasana ending your class, then please do that. I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope this class was helpful in balancing your earth element, helping with digestion, with the emotion of worry. I hope that you found this helpful. Thanks again for joining me.